Trin, Greensy, Karen, Wright, Fraser here. Gonna be sharing a story with you today and a crafting technique. Today I chose a story called Clinico Nietzsche, So Good a Worker. I hope you enjoy it. So many years ago, it was a cold and blustery day, and there was a tribe of people who were traveling nomadically, following the caribou for their survival. So they were all set up at a camp, and everybody knew what their chores were to make the camp run smoothly. And people worked very, very hard, but they were happy. So anyway, one day the men went out looking for the caribou, and after all the other chores were done, the women were sitting down and sewing together. Clinico Nietzsche, as she had many, many good skills, she made a joke and she said, "Oh, I wish I didn't have to sew these moccasins for my husband." She was a newly married young lady. Well, the people didn't think that was funny, and neither did the chief. She didn't know that he just came back. He overheard what she said, and he was very upset. He called everybody together, and he said, "This is what she said, and we're going to leave her here to die. And everybody," he said, "take the camps down. We're leaving right now." Oh, she started crying her head off. She looked at her husband and she wants him to help and say something, but he can't say anything. He just looked away and her heart was broken. Well, she looked at her mom. Her mom can't say anything. Her mom looked away, and again her heart was broken. She is crying and sobbing. The chief tore her dress off and left her there with nothing on, shivering in the wind and the snow, blowing snow. And everybody started working really fast. In no time at all, the camp was all down, and everybody, one by one, they were walking away. She couldn't believe it. Her heart was just broken. She was already so lonely, and she couldn't believe they were going to leave her there to die. Well, her best friend, who back in the day they called it your partner, so her partner tried to stay back as long as she can, and she whispered when she was passing Clinico Nietzsche, she whispered and said, "I left something for you beside my camp. Look beside where I had a fire." But everybody had to put snow on their fire, so they couldn't leave anything for Clinico Nietzsche. So anyway, she was sitting there and she was still shivering and crying. Ooh, it was cold. And pretty soon she couldn't hear any more voices. They were far away. So she got up and she went over to her partner's camp area. And she looked around beside the fire where she had a fire. She looked around under the snow. She was digging. There she found her gifts. One which was a birch fungus, and inside it was an ember, which is going to help her make a fire. And also a piece of sinew, which is going to help her make a snare. Well, she was so blessed and she was so happy for her partner. Her best friend left her these gifts. So she took out the ember and she went and made herself a fire. Tried to warm up a little bit. Then she made herself a snare out of that sinew. She made a snare and she set it up to catch herself a raven. And in no time at all, she caught a raven. She skinned that out and she put it on her foot. Then she set up the snare again, and she caught another raven and she skinned it out, put it on her other foot. Well, from the feet of the raven, she took more sinew and she made other snares, and she caught herself some rabbits. And soon enough, she had food, and she started making fur clothing for herself. She pulled the rabbit fur into strips, and she finger weaved, and she made herself some fur clothing. Well, all through the winter, she kept herself alive and she kept herself busy. She would sew with the fur and the skins. She even got herself a caribou. She tanned the hide. She got a porcupine, and she made beautiful fancy garments and bags and moccasins, mucklucks, mitts, hats, everything. But the bags she used she would make dry meat with any of the meat that she got, and she would put it inside the bags. And she made herself a little cache, which is like it's on stilts, and then there's wood, like little logs across the top, and it's on stilts, and you keep your meat up there, a cache. Well, she had a lot of meat and beautiful fancy objects, and now summer came, and so she moved her camp down beside the water, and her cache, she moved that one too. And now she started getting fish, and she made dry fish. Oh man, she was happy, and she kept making garments and objects. So she made dry fish now, and she was putting those dry fish into the bags as well. Well, now she had bags and bags of dry meat and dry fish. She made fat from the caribou fat. So she made grease fat for the dry meat. And then pretty soon she was going down beside the water one day to go check her fish trap, which she made herself too, because she watched her brothers and her dad how they do things, and she was always learning. She not only had sewing skills, but she had bush skills, which really helped her out. So she was going down to her fish trap, and she was checking. All of a sudden she heard voices. She was so startled because she hadn't heard or seen anybody for months and months. She was all alone. So she ran back up the hill, but it was too late. There was two young men. They seen her, and they were wondering, who's that? They said, hey, who are you? And she wouldn't answer. She was hiding, and she was so afraid. And they said, could that be? They said, Triniko Necha, is that you? And she was too afraid to answer. And they said, if that's you, don't be afraid. We're not going to hurt you. So she finally answered, and she slowly came out, and she said, yes, it's me. So they were amazed that she was not only alive, but she was doing very well. She looked really good, and she was dressed very, very sharp. And then so she brought them back to her camp, where she showed them all what she made and all the dry fish and the dry meat. And the two young men said they were so impressed with her skills and who she was, that they said they want to marry her. And she said, well, I was married once before. She said, I don't think I want to do that. And they said, well, that she was so smart and skilled that they will both marry her. And back in the day, that's how it was. So she agreed. Now she ended up with two husbands. And these two young men, they told her the people in the tribe were not doing very well. There was famine, and they lost, many people died because they were starving. So they said, you should come back with us to the people and bring all your food. You're going to help them. So she was afraid, but she trusted them. So they all went back, and they found the people, and she brought out all of her goods, and she helped everybody. And the chief was very happy, and he welcomed her back into the tribe, and he just said that Triniko Necha is so good a worker. She survived, and she's doing good, and she helped everybody out. And maybe we just have to learn that we have to be careful of what we say, because sometimes it could hurt us. And that's the end of the story. Hope you enjoyed that. So today I wanted to share with you a little bit of, in the winter time, speaking of winter, we sometimes wear mitts and we make mitt strings. So I'm going to show you a different way to make these mitt strings. When I was young, we used to put the wool and hook it up to something, and I would take 2 pieces, and maybe my sister over here would take 2 pieces of wool. Then we would of yarn there, and we would cross it, and then she would cross this one, cross this. Hey, pretty soon our arms were really sore. So I'm going to show you a way to do it with finger weaving. Right here. So finger weaving, I put 2 pieces of 2 different colored yarns, and I tied it at the end here just to show you very quickly how this is done. So this piece right here that I tied it right here. So I'm going to call this here the tail. So I'm going to take 2 of them here. I'm going to pretend I'm just like I have 2 little toy guns and go like this, bang here. So on one of them, I'm going to hold the tail. Okay, that's going to be important when I'm trying to teach this here. So now I'm holding the tail with this one, going like this. So the one I'm holding tail with, on here, with the other finger, and you always have to be pointing forward. So I'm going to put my other finger through here and say point. Then I'm going to bring it back and take this green yarn. I say hook. Then with the one I hooked with this hand, I'm going to take the tail and then I'm going to pull. Okay? So then with this free finger, I'm going to put it point and put it back here and say hook. So you're going to hook this yarn here on this side, the beige, and you're going to pull it up through this green. Gee, too bad I used a green t-shirt. Point, hook, and then tail. I'm going to hold this tail with this side and let this one go and say pull. Okay? Point, come back, pull, no, point, hook, tail, and pull. Point, hook, tail, pull. So another thing I should have mentioned is I'm holding this with two last fingers and this side with 2 last fingers. So I'm going to say point and then come back like this and grab that green one, hook, tail, pull. So let me do a few of them here for you and show you what it looks like here. I'm just going to do a whole bunch. And then if you want to try this at home, you could even write down point, hook, tail, pull, and it'll help you to remember if you get stuck. See, point, hook, tail, pull. See, maybe it'll help. Point, hook, tail, pull. Point, hook, tail, pull. I don't know, let's see. Point, hook, tail, other pull. So I'll do a whole bunch of them again and show you. Okay, for this purpose, we're just going to do a little bit. Point, hook, tail, pull. So then after you get that one down pat with some practice, and sometimes it could be very frustrating. Okay, point, hook, tail, pull, point, hook, tail, pull. Okay, so now it starts looking like this. See? So then I'm going to show you now how to make a tassel to attach. So once the mitt string, so this is a tassel. Here's a tassel. I'm going to show you how to do that part. And then if you forget where, let me put this down and I'm going to show it. gonna work. Okay, so point. Okay, if you get stuck, the green one, if the green one is up, then you know you have to point with the other one. Then you hold these two, and here's the tail. Then you're gonna point always forward, point, come back and take this beige, bring it through this little circle here, point, hook, then you're gonna hold the tail with this beige and pull with the green. Okay, point, hook, tail, pull, point, hook, tail, pull. Okay, there we go. So now enough of this is made. I'm going to make a tassel and just show you how to attach the tassel. Some of you probably know how to do this, but others might not. So I usually use a piece of cardboard from bias tape or rickrack, what I buy. I save these and recycle, and then I use this for, it's a really good it's a good measurement to make tassels. So I'm just going to go like yay. I put the same color that we made the strings out of. I just put one of each color, beige and green. I'm just going around here. I'm going to cut this off at the bottom. Boom. Then I'm going to cut, I'm going to hold all of this and put this through here and cut. Okay. So here's about the center right here. So this center, we want to put on this knot about the center right here. And it doesn't matter if it's exactly, but it's pretty close. So then for this purpose, I'm going to use a contrasting color just to show you what I'm doing. Usually I would use a piece of sinew at this point, but I'm going to use a contrasting wool. So I'm using a needle that's like for yarn, and it's not sharp. It's kind of dull at the end. So you see this part where there's a knot? I'm going to put this needle right above that knot, put it right through, and then I'm going to wrap all this yarn around that, and I'm going to kind of pull it a little tight here, and then wrap it 3 times, and then put your needle through through again. So now you could let go this other yarn that was sticking up and just drape it over nicely here. I probably should have made it tighter, sorry, but I'm just wanting to show you. So you drape it over here, and then about 1/2 inch from the top, put this sinew, but I'm using this just to show you, put it around and pull it kind of tight to make like this little kind of a ball, and put your needle through, through all the yarn. Again, put it through, and then make a knot. Okay, make a knot, cut that off. And get one color of the whatever you had on there. Okay, so make it about the same size there. Bring it up. And start wrapping that one around that same spot where you had the sinew. which I used the contrasting just to show you how it was done. Make a little loop, put this through the loop to make a knot, twist it around, make another loop, put it through again, pull it a little bit tight, and that'll go like this. And then what I usually do is put my hand like about like this much, and then I cut over a garbage can. I cut that off, and voila, there's your little tassel. So hopefully if you wanted to make mitt strings this winter or something, now you have another skill that you could use to make your mitt strings and your tassels to help you so you don't lose your mitts. And that's going to be all for today. I'm glad I was able to be with you and hope you enjoyed that, and see you another time. Bye-bye.